Hello, this is Coding Gicha for full-stack developers. When a client, such as a web browser, requests a web page from a web server, the web server provides essential information about the response context, such as server details, content type, and instructions for caching or security. I will check the web server's response headers using the developer tools provided by the web browser. Depending on the web server, there may be known version-based vulnerabilities which can cause web servers using vulnerable versions to be scanned and attacked. Hiding the web server's version information in the response headers can block potential malicious attacks. By looking at the server response headers, we can identify that the web server is nginx and determine its version. Furthermore, we can even identify the operating system on which nginx is installed. As mentioned earlier, since there may be known version-based vulnerabilities that could lead to malicious attacks, I will hide the version information. I will configure nginx in the terminal. It is somewhat cumbersome to work in the terminal to set response headers, verify them in a web browser, and then return to the terminal to continue the work. I will check the response headers using curl. Since requests to the primary domain address are configured to be forwarded to the www secondary domain, two responses are displayed: HTTP status 301 and 200. The server response headers indicate that the web server is nginx and provide the nginx version. They also indicate the operating system on which nginx is installed. Needless to say, if you request the www secondary domain address, only the HTTP status 200 response is displayed. I will navigate to the directory where nginx is installed. I will open the nginx.conf file. The server token setting is disabled by commenting it out, so I will uncomment it to set it to off. I will reload nginx. I will check the response headers again. In the server response header, only the fact that the web server is nginx is displayed. The nginx version and the operating system where nginx is installed have disappeared. The nginx version can be easily hidden simply by configuring the server token setting. Since the nginx version is hidden, it may be safe from scans for versions with known vulnerabilities. However, if the web server in service is a target for hackers, simply knowing that the web server is nginx allows them to attack by attempting all known nginx vulnerabilities regardless of the version. Therefore, one would want to hide even the web server name. One might simply consider modifying the server response header using add header. I will reload nginx and check the response headers again. Unfortunately, the value of the server response header do not change. Instead, the newly configured header is added, simply increasing the number of server response headers to 2. To change the value of the response header, you must install an additional module. I will update the apt installation repository to the latest version. I will install http-headers-more-filter for nginx. I will open the nginx.conf file. I will delete the add header configured earlier. I will change the server response header value using more set headers. I will reload nginx and check the response headers again. Now, it is no longer possible to tell that the server is nginx. Changing that server response header value is a good method, but removing that server response header entirely is an even better approach. I will remove the server response header itself using more clear headers. I will reload nginx and check the response headers again. Since the server response header is no longer visible, security has been enhanced. I will also explain the settings for additionally useful response headers. Frames or iframes can be used in clickjacking attacks. Regarding X-frame options, there are 3 possible settings, but the allow from option is not allowed in most browsers. You can configure it to deny all access to frames or iframes or to restrict access to only within the same domain. While this can be configured via add header, it is recommended to use more set headers as this may result in duplicate settings if already configured. X content type options is an HTTP response header that prevents browser MIME sniffing. MIME sniffing refers to the process where a browser does not trust the content type declared by the server and instead guesses the file type based on the file content. The only valid value for this is no sniff. Let's reload nginx and check the response headers again. The additionally configured response headers have been added. Thank you for watching.